Congress races against time to avert a shutdown in 3 days. Facing bleak prospects, Washington, Congress is hurtling toward a government shutdown, with money set to run out in a little more than 2 days and no sign of a short-term funding deal between the Republican-led House and Democratic-controlled Senate. With time running short, the two chambers are moving in different directions and remain far from converging on a path to resolve their disputes. Follow along for live updates. The Senate has been slowly advancing a bipartisan stopgap bill, known as a continuing resolution or CR, with overwhelming support in the chamber. It would fund the government at current levels through November 17 and provide roughly $6 billion in aid for Ukraine and another $6 billion for disaster aid. That bill is on a path to clear the Senate in the coming days as members negotiate to reach an agreement to vote quickly. But too many House Republicans say they strongly oppose that bill. Meanwhile, Speaker Kevin McCarthy said he plans to bring a short-term funding bill to the floor on Friday, ahead of the 11:59 p.m. Saturday deadline. But the conservative package calls for steep spending cuts and a border and immigration measure that would be dead on arrival in the upper chamber. We'd like to hear from you about how you're preparing for a possible government shutdown, whether you might be out of work or feel the effects of shuttered services. Please contact us at tips@nbcuni.com or reach out to us here. It's not even clear McCarthy has the votes for a short-term bill, with many of his far-right members opposed to any kind of continuing resolution. One of them is Representative Matt Gaetz, R. Florida, McCarthy's chief GOP antagonist, who said that if McCarthy puts the Senate bill on the floor, he would move to overthrow him from the Speaker's job. Time equals 400 ms. greater than. If the leadership moves a Democrat spending bill to advance Democrat priorities, then there's very likely to be a motion to vacate that the Speaker would face, Gaetz said. It's so obvious, I can't believe I have to say it out loud. Speaking at a closed-door meeting Thursday morning, McCarthy urged rank-and-file Republicans to rally behind his latest strategy: pass a Republican CR to keep the government open temporarily, which will allow the House to continue making progress on passing individual appropriations bills. If we don't pass a CR, we weaken ourselves, McCarthy said, according to a lawmaker in the room. Time equals 400 ms. greater than Rep. Tim Burchett, R10, who plans to vote no on the CR, said the probability of a shutdown is very high. And he mocked Congress for frantically trying to solve the funding issue at the last minute, even though the September 30th deadline has been known since last December. We're really busting our ass. We're working at 10 o'clock in the morning and we're going to take 2 hours for lunch and then come here at 4 o'clock with our Brooks Brothers suit thrown over our hood and our sleeves rolled up and our collars undone. And tell the American people we're working. They know it's not true, Burchett said. So, I really don't have a lot of faith in this. Time equals 400 ms. greater than. Staff at least some federal agencies Thursday have begun receiving their first official communications about the impacts of a possible shutdown. One message to employees at the Social Security Administration says, "We understand uncertainty can be unsettling," and reminds them that there is still time for the Congress to avert a funding lapse. Emerging from Thursday morning's meeting at the Capitol Hill Club, a private GOP club near the Capitol, conservative Representative Ralph Norman, RSC, said the text of the House's CR, including details like how long it would keep the government open, could be posted Thursday night or Friday morning. Time equals 400 ms. greater than, but Norman wouldn't commit to voting for McCarthy's CR. The devil's in the details, he said, adding that he does want the House to send something to the Senate. Another staunch opponent of a stopgap bill is Representative Matt Rosendale, Armont. And Representative Ken Buck, Arcolo, said he'd only vote for it if it cuts spending sharply down to fiscal 2019 levels. Given how small the GOP majority is, McCarthy can only lose 4 votes on legislation. Buck said McCarthy is facing trouble of his own making. The promise the Speaker has is he's made 3 different promises to 3 different groups in the Republican conference, Buck told NBC News. So he can't reconcile those 3 numbers, and so that's really the issue. But I don't see a lot of people wanting to compete for that job right now. President Joe Biden endorsed the Senate bill, telling McCarthy to honor the budget deal the two men reached earlier this year, which McCarthy has since sought to renege on under pressure from GOP hardliners who insist on steeper spending cuts. This May, Speaker McCarthy and I reached a deal that would fund essential priorities and cut the deficit over $1 trillion, Biden said. Now, there's a group of extreme House Republicans who would rather shut down the government than live up to that deal. Quote,